Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Council President Gomez, Council Member Montgomery, and all the council and those present. My name is Abdul-Waliullah Muhammad. I'm the local representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. I stand with all those who stand here today in solidarity to bring about a change that is much necessary for the things we see happening not only in San Diego, California, but throughout the country. I stand here today to question and ask you, as one of your presidents says, Thomas Jefferson, he said, "I tremble when I think God is a just God, and his justice will not sleep forever." In the Bible, it says, "Justice stands afar off, equity cannot enter, because truth have fallen in the street." In the book of scripture of the Muslim, the Holy Quran, we're taught to be bearers of justice, even if it be against our own selves. Justice is a central part of human life and dignity. I could stand here and quote to you the preamble of the United States of America, but you all know that because you swore allegiance to that Constitution that you would obey it, and so does every officer. AB 392 is a small step in the right direction. Now, my friends, my colleagues have said much here today, and I'm not going to go over that. I want to focus in on two things that I'm here for today, maybe three. Number one, to stand with my sister, Miss Bates, Leticia Bates, and her son, Latrell Cannon, that was recently brutalized. Many spoke of that incident when they came up. Number one, I'm calling for the chief of police to give an apology to the citizens of the city of San Diego. And if he will not give an apology to the citizens of San Diego, then I'm also going to ask, as someone said, for him to step down. Now, you would say, why, Minister Muhammad, are you asking for that? Because he misrepresented the truth. I spoke with the chief of police directly. And let me make it plain for the record. I've worked with 4 different police chiefs since I've been in this city for 21 years. And not one of those chiefs, from Bejarano to Lansdowne to Shelley Zimmerman to the current chief, cannot say that we have been open and fair. Anytime there have been a shooting in the city of San Diego and I've been called, I've always asked the people to wait till you get the facts. Do not rush to judgment. I said this very thing to the chief. When he told me, he said, "Hugh, I heard that the officer was attacked by the young man." I said, "Chief, that is not the case. That's not what I heard. I heard that he was trying to get out of the car and he was pulled out of the car." Why am I disappointed in the San Diego Police Department? Because at the press conference, in the narrative that they showed a young man acting as if he was tackling the police officer for a 4 or 5 second clip. But when you and everyone in this room saw the helicopter version and other version that should be on the body cameras, we saw a young man trying to get out of a car that was a police officer ran around, grabbed him, and in the force of grabbing him, fell back and the young man fell on him. That is the true narrative of what happened that day. So number one, we would first like the chief of police to release then all of the camera, all of the footage, and if he's not willing to do that, we're calling for the DOJ or for independent study to come in and review that. I have no confidence in internal affairs to review this matter after the chief of police have said that he thinks that the beating and the force used was adequate. Now, we have to be honest. I'm not an enemy of the police. I'm not an enemy of anyone on this council. But I have to ask some of you, as I look at your faces, I look at the communication that you had nonverbal, are you any better than your fathers? We cannot sit here and think that racism is not at the root of some of this. AB 392 addresses a reprobate mind. You can't train a racist mind. And you can't tell me that racism does not exist in law enforcement. You cannot tell me that there's incidents of corruption that do not exist. In Los Angeles, California, the Rampart, in Las Vegas, in New Orleans, in cities across America, in Boston, Massachusetts, areas where we found misconduct of police and a cabal that exists. Well, I'm saying to us today, to the city of San Diego, to this city council, to the chief of police, and to the highest official in this city, the mayor, that we need to examine what happened and bring justice to that situation. Now, what am I talking about in a very simple manner? Those officers that were at that place, we want all of their records to be looked at. We want to see if any of them have any other cases against them of use of force, complaints against them. Number two, we want all of the footage from the cameras to be reviewed by independent body of men, not IA. We're going to have to step outside of the box to get this done. I ask you, are you any better than your fathers? Why do I ask that? Because if you vote today not thinking that color matters, then you are just as biased as your forefathers were when they had us in slavery. I'm not making this a race issue, but for you to deny the reality is to deny what Dr. King says. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. In 1963, Dr. King led a march in Washington, D.C., and the analysis of Dr. King was that 100 years after slavery, the black man and woman of America have still not received that truth that was said, that all men are created equal and endowed with enabler rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of the pursuit of happiness. He said, I come to Washington, D.C., with a check that's been returned to the black man and woman, insufficient funds, insufficient justice, insufficient jobs, insufficient education. And if you don't stand up, it will be insufficient representation. And so I'm asking you, if taxation without representation is tyranny, and you're not able to represent from all councilmatic, because at the end of the day, you're going to speak for your heart today. Your moral consciousness, your fairness, and your sense of justice must speak to you today. AB 392 is not an attack on the police. It's a step. I'm going to say it this way. My other colleagues didn't say it. It's to tame racism that exists in law enforcement throughout this country. And if you think I'm lying, you tell me why then so many unarmed black men and women, so many brown men and women, and other poor people are being murdered at the hand of police. You're going to have to be politically brave today. You're going to have to be able to step outside of the box. You're going to have to have your conversation in your mind. Am I any better than my fathers? Or am I voting for this because I need the police officers and poll bar? We need all of the unions to be elected for our next official. I say this also to black police officers on the force. My young sister said this to me. She asked a police officer on the force. She said, why did you let them beat him like this? He said, I didn't see anything. I say to you, I would rather lose a job than be a coward. I would rather lose $1 million, $1 billion than be afraid to speak the truth to power. The City Council of the City of San Diego have an opportunity to stand in the cusp and to do the right thing. The bill that Assemblywoman Shirley Weber introduced is the right thing, in the right step in the right direction. I'm asking San Diego, every one of you, to vote for this. She said it will not be or may not be the final bill. There may be some changes. This does not threaten police officers. And this thing about San Diego, this is not an isolated incident. What happened to Mr. Connor? I have other people that can stand up and tell you other young people are being brutalized. The gang task force is exactly what it is. It is a gang that's made up of many members of the San Diego Police Department, many of who, guess what, do not look like us. Now, I don't know what that unit is compromised right now or what the composition is, but I know back in the day when we were dealing with this, I know out of the 70-something officers that were in the gang unit, there was only 3 or 4 blacks. 2 or 3 of our Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters, and the rest of them was white, most of whom do not live in our community. We're being arrested by those that don't look like us. We're being tried and convicted by those that don't look like us. And we're being sent to prison and juries of those don't look like us. You have an opportunity to do a moral issue, as my brother, someone said earlier. You have a condition now to say, you know what? I'm going to make a difference. With that, I say to the City Council, support AB 392. I want to thank my councilwoman for her bravery, for her stance, not only since she's been on the council, because when she wasn't on the council, she stood up for justice. She's not looking for the next political office. She wants to stand up for justice. And I believe when she leaves this, she will stand up for justice. My teacher tells me, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, they say justice is something that lies down with you at night and it gets up with you in the morning. Justice is a principle of fair and equitable dealing. May God bless you to deal fair, to be equitable, and some of you to step outside of the box, rise above your own implicit biases and do the right thing for the citizens of San Diego and helping the state of California to once again be the leaders in this country. Thank you and God bless.
Kate Yavandidi. Kate Yavandidi. Is Kate present? You'll be followed by Geeta Applebaum, followed by Christopher Rice Wilson.